What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Anthony Joshua. Get this. Anthony Joshua says that I'm not going to be a bruiser. I'm a thinker, maybe an overthinker. Wow. Anthony Joshua is not the kind of brawler that his power and physique may lead viewers to believe. The fighter himself insists. The former heavyweight champion from London offered some sobering remarks about his fighting identity in a recent sit-down interview, claiming that at heart he's a boxer who prefers to think his way through a fight. Of course, Joshua, one of the biggest stars in the sport, formed his reputation in large part of knocking people out. The reputation, however, has taken somewhat of a hit in recent years, especially in the wake of his catastrophic loss to Andy Ruiz back in 2019 in New York. Joshua was roundly criticized after his win over Jermaine Franklin this month for appearing to be timid and hesitant, despite garnishing a nice lead from the scorecards. In an interview, Joshua, 33 years of age, pushed back against recent criticism, and he says that he needs to be more aggressive inside the ring. He said, when you look at someone's makeup, you have to look at what their attributes are, Joshua said. I'm quite tall. I've got a long range, but I'm not going to be a bruiser. If you look at my character, I'm not the most aggressive, outwardly type person. I'm not a fighter. I'm more of a boxer. There's a thought process. There is a method behind the madness. I've always tried to develop my boxing IQ, but over 12 rounds, there are times that you have to fight, and I want to become a box fighter. Okay. He said, that's why the fight with Jermaine Franklin, I realized that I was with someone who's a counterpuncher. You throw two, they hit you with three. So I changed my game plan, Joshua said. I stuck behind my jab, I used my attributes, and I got the win. I can build on that because there will be a day where just being a fighter may not work against a certain opponent. The man who has a plan A, B, and C in his locker because he can use his jab, he can move around. He knows how to defend. I think he'll have more of a chance to be victorious on a tough night. I'm glad that I got those rounds in the bank and I can move forward on my quest to become a full and well-rounded fighter. Joshua added, I'm a thinker, maybe an overthinker. And let me counterpunch. I think the last part that Joshua mentioned was absolutely right. I think he is an overthinker. I think Joshua has become an overthinker based on the fights that he's experienced. You know, that Ruiz fight, I think Anthony Joshua sits there and thinks about that shit a lot. He may tell people that he don't. I think he thinks about that all the time because he knew at that fight, in that fight, he could have got the knockdown and then thought smart to box the rest of that round or the rest of that fight. And Andy would have got the respect from him because Anthony wouldn't have engaged. So he thinks his rules of engagement was premature. That's why he got hit and hurt. But that's not why he got hit and hurt. He got hit and hurt because he threw away the defense part of it. That's it. That didn't mean he should be less aggressive. That didn't mean he shouldn't go for the kill. But when he went for the kill to land another left hook or a right uppercut or whatever he was going to land, he should have been more cautious because he was still in there with a live dog. That's where AJ fails to mention. He wants to be this boxer and play it safe. I want to be a thinker. Now I want to be a damn overthinker. No, you need to do both at the same damn time. You can't go in there and be the guy that you was and throw caution to the wind. Let me give you guys a perfect example of a guy that used to fight or went through the same thing as AJ or what AJ's trying to develop. Marco Antonio Barrera, one of my favorite fighters at 122 to 126 to 130. He is a legend, okay? He is. Left hook to the body, great punch. But before he was knocked out by Junior Jones, he had that mentality that he couldn't be hurt. He had that mentality that he couldn't be stopped, he couldn't be beat, and he got knocked out. He had to regroup, regain himself, and a lot of people had gave up on him because by that time, everybody jumped on the Eric Morales train when Eric Morales was beating up people. In fact, the same guy that knocked him out, he knocked him out. So you know how that goes, right? The trilogy theory that, yeah, you do this and do that over someone, you should beat that person, no problem. Okay, so Marco Antonio Barrera became a better boxer because he learned how to use defense with his attack. Okay, he learned offense with that defense. He didn't go in there and threw caution to the wind like Anthony Joshua did. And that's exactly what he did. He went in there thinking he was going to knock out the Mexican Pillsbury Doughboy and got clocked. That's what happened to him. So him saying, hey, well, I'm not a bruiser, or I'm not this, and I'm not just going to go in there because sometimes, you can't fight everybody. Well, that's true to a certain extent. You can't knock out everybody sometimes, but it's sometimes you have to fight. So at some point, Joshua has to remember who he was, but then add some wisdom to it. See, he was a tiger back then. Joshua now needs to learn how to be the dragon. See, the dragon has another option. The tiger only has one. He's just going to attack with that mentality. Okay? Getting deep on you guys today. But understand, Joshua has to learn how to be a better fighter than resort to just boxing, because that Jermaine Franklin fight was bullshit. He didn't have to knock out Jermaine Franklin. Yeah, he got the win, but the way he won, it looked like an incomplete fighter. So let's hope that he learns from Derek James. Let's hope that he does know how to defense and use that defense. And defense don't mean jab and grab. Okay, defense means, hey, let me catch and shoot. Let me move my head. Let me block and counter. Let me do these things. Let me use my legs for once. Not let's just let me grab when I'm in doubt. Because it seems like every time he was in doubt in a situation that I think he felt uncomfortable, he grabbed. But what does that remind you of? What is that flashback is recording? It's recording the fact that he got himself in a situation with a guy around that same height with Andy Ruiz. And Andy Ruiz was that guy that clocked him. And I think he was kind of looking at that fight and he was extra cautious because the same measurements applied to both fighters. Counter punches, fast hands, tough chin. Okay, so with AJ saying, well, maybe I'm an overthinker. Yeah, you're an overthinker now simply because you're too concerned about getting hit with shots that may hurt you and put you back in that same physical state that you were in, hurt. And I know AJ hates that idea, and I think he hates the state of being in that position. Okay, that's what I think's going on with AJ. But him can be a rounded fighter. I think he needs to learn how to put faith in his defense without grabbing. Stop grabbing a fighter. You know what I mean? Stop being in doubt. Understand, there's a block for each punch. Now, understand, those adjustments are going to have to vary. The good thing about Joshua, he has big arms and shit, so he can block a lot of these shots. But if he wants to be a better boxer, and I know he wants to be this overall better guy and just evolve into this dude like Marco Antonio Barrera did, right? Remember him? Well, I think that he should focus more with his trainer and he should fight more. And stop worrying about losing and stop worrying about something that ain't even happened yet. Because without Tyson Fury, that shit ain't going to go down anyhow. Okay? Unless he just had a one-on-one deal with Wilder, and we don't know if that's what they want. And I mean the Saudis. So I think he needs to practice more. Those 12 rounds and the rounds in the bank and all that. No, he needs more. We need to see what he can do. We need to see where his defense is. We need to see if he's learned something. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Anthony Joshua stating that he's not a bruiser any longer, okay? And he may be an overthinker. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!